What's going on, everybody? It's been a minute, but we're back in the saddle, and I'm looking forward to being able to share so much with you this upcoming year. We're going to be going live. We're going to have long-form content. I heard you loud and clear. Y'all ready for a brother to be back? And guess what? I'm going to be back, and we're going to be cranking this thing all the way up, and we are welcoming back to the stage Miss Leslie Jones. How you doing?
Hola, hola. Ooh, that's a loaded question, but I'm pretty sure we're gonna get into it.
Yeah, get into it. Yeah, you dropped that short the other day, and I'm sure it was intriguing to a lot of folks to see, the term scammer, and when it's scammers and what's going on over in the motherland, what's happening in the motherland. Well, we're going to talk about it. So anyway, how you been? It's been a minute since we've actually had a chance to catch up. How's everything going?
I have been so much better now that I'm back on the soil of California. I'm a Cali girl, Jay. I'm a Cali girl. I just accept the fact that I'm a city girl and I like California. I like LA. I like LA County. This is where I want to be.
Well, so it doesn't rain in Southern California?
Surprisingly, it does. Even today, we got a notification from the National Weather Service. It's going to be 19 degrees in California tonight and tomorrow. So we've been warned, and this is a phenomenon. This is a freak accident. So it's getting a little weird out here, but it'll just last for 2 days.
19 degrees in LA.
Crazy.
Oh, wow.
It's unheard of. So global warming, that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. We got to talk to Tony and see exactly if they have a new song as rain.
That was a line. I missed that. I don't know that song. Oh yeah. Ooh.
That's what they tell me. So
they're in Ghana.
Say it again.
Tony was in Ghana.
Yes, they were. I actually saw them. They were missing Raphael Sadiq though. They didn't have Raphael, so I was like,
he's number one.
I was like, I don't know how you have Tony and not have Raphael Sadiq. But anyway, all the old school folks, they know, all the 3T fans, we understand. But anyway, we just recently ran into a situation. It's brought to our attention yesterday where someone has been impersonating us, using our likeness, using fake email addresses, using a very convincing yet grammatically incorrect emails, and if you're gonna do it, do it right.
Do right. If you're gonna scam, proofread your English.
It goes to speak to a lot of things though, because I've been hearing about these scams. We aren't the only people that have been impersonated and scammed. I've heard of other stories where this has happened, and people have actually sent in their money, Leslie. They've sent in their money to these bank accounts to people because they were trusting. And so I wanna talk about how this can happen, how you can prevent it from happening, and how we're addressing it. I mean, there's nothing you can really do about somebody they make up fake social media accounts, they make up fake,
right,
all the different things. So the only thing is a person can do is really do their own due diligence. But what was the thought when you realized that you had been impersonated and scammed in essence, and using your likeness to scam others?
Right. Surprisingly, I was just like, here we go. Like I would think I was going to be like, oh my God, this shouldn't happen. I'm so, I'm nervous. My reputation. But then I was just like, what else is next? I've been through so much already. I'm just like, well, here we go. Another event. So I felt it was I almost laughed slightly because I was like, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, it does have that, because then you sent it to me, and I was like, well, how'd I get in the middle of this?
Right.
What have you done? It got me in the middle of your stuff.
See, reputation already ruined. But what's crazy is, thank you, Small but Mighty Crew, because it's actually someone that's part of my email list that received these emails. And he almost sent his money. Like, he sent me the conversation. He's like, okay, well, if you will do it, Leslie, I will do it. So this person's literally taking my essence, taking everything that I've built up over the last 3 years and using that And my small but mighty crew member said they're literally studying you, because after I announced that my registration process is going to the next step, that's when these emails started. And within the email, it was saying, "Oh, registration is going great. Sending your money. Sending your money to the lands commissioner." I was like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna build a wall." And that's where I was like, I already built my wall on both properties. So if anyone is following my journey, which is important to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because if you're updated on our journeys, that wouldn't even happen. And if you're part of our email list, that wouldn't even happen either. So even within the email, they showed a Momo transaction, me sending money to someone with a name on it and everything. I said, this is crazy. This is crazy. So I don't know where you come in.
That's what I said. I'm in the middle of your stuff. Yeah. How you got me roped into this? You know, how I get roped into this? What you got going on?
You know, earlier I said, well, they see us as a power duo then, because they saw, maybe because we do so many interviews and talk about land, they're like, let's just combine them and use both of their essence and their credibility and their hard work and see what we can get.
I'd be curious. I'd really be curious if anybody sent in that money. You know, I have mixed feelings about it as far as if someone sends in the money and if they get taken. You know, I feel bad that happens, but then on the flip side, you know, we do have a responsibility to do our due diligence and to not be so trusting, especially when it comes to international transactions or transactions in general. And I understand that another person I know does real estate, and similar thing happened, and the people actually sent in the money based off of those emails, not actually talking to the person, interacting with the person, and having a rapport, but they did this by way of email. And so when what I said at that point in time, I was like, well, I don't know how sorry I feel, because I'm not going to send somebody $10, $15, $20,000 and we have not had a conversation. We haven't, and I'm not talking about a phone conversation. That's like, I'm looking at you, and I know that you exist. So if you steal something from me, I know where to come. You know, put the hammer down. Or, you know,
get you.
Right. So you know, but it's just a situation where so many. I mean, I know of at least 3 instances where more than $10,000 has been sent to someone.
That's a pretty penny.
Yeah, based on someone's email. And then this is happening, it happens all over the world. It happens in the US, it happens in all over the world. So let me just say that it's not just a Ghana thing, but we just happen to talk about it because this is where whoever this is has decided to exploit. And they're exploiting what's happening, you know, in Ghana, and in that the fact that there's so many people running to Ghana to get this land. And then like your story, you've been through
hell.
Yeah. You've been through hell and high water and a handbag.
Hell and high water.
That's right. You've been through it. And
that's why I'm numb at this point. I'm like, okay, well, this is just something next. Okay, what's coming on after this, you know? But what's so significant about our website are legitimate, you know? And so even when I was assisting people with land, we had to one-on-one, face-to-face was part of my process. Like I had to see, we had to either FaceTime, Zoom, we had to do something. So even in the setup from the second you email me, the process I had, you know, going to my website, going to my contact page, that comes to me. You go to my website, there's a WhatsApp. That WhatsApp comes directly to me. So there's no way you can get through any process of mine without even talking or seeing me. Yeah.
So they will see you, or they would have seen you,
right,
by way of some form of video.
Exactly. That's part of my process. Even now, like if someone wanted to request a chat with me, it is either Zoom, FaceTime, or Restream. Like there's no other way. Yeah.
Well, I know that. Well, for me, I've had some interesting experiences. Kind of a little bit of a segue, and then we'll circle back. I've had some interesting experiences pertaining to real estate, and I remember, and I'm being very careful because I'm not trying to. There are a lot of folks over in Ghana and other parts of the world who are doing legitimate business. They're doing good business. They have reputable companies on the ground in Ghana doing business. The problem is being able to find those companies, because where they're reputable companies, there are just as many shady, low down, dirty, shame companies that are exploiting, in many cases, Black American trauma, Black American frustration, Black American
PTSD.
Yeah, all PTSD, dealing with the, they'll study, just like they studied you and know all of your, what's going on your channel. The professional scammers also study the psychology of those who are looking to escape wherever it is, the UK, whether America, or whatever their circumstances are. So they have these tactics in place to lure people in based upon their emotional state at the time. So a lot of us want to get out of America because we know America's a hot mess and thieves and crooked and lies and all of that. So people are tired of that. People are tired of paying their money towards a system that has sought to oppress it, sought to oppress them, sought to oppress our ancestors in the US. So there's a level of frustration and anger. And so they're looking for alternatives. So with that, hey, guess what? If someone says, you know what, I'm an alternative, I'll give you some free land. Now, the Negro mind hears something free, and they're they're like, oh, well, shoot, you give me something free. Dude, I'm going to give you some free land over there in Africa,
Right, why you got to do this?
I'm going to give me some free land.
You're a mess, man.
It's been a while
a kangaroo? You're a kangaroo from Tanzania?
But
even like, okay.
They say when you laugh to keep from crying sometimes. So,
that part.
So they do this and they put it out there because I hope to school some folks today, because I'm doing real estate in Ghana, but I'm not doing it the way, you ain't never coming free. Ain't free land, free land, y'all. They're giving us free land because they owe us. And in Ghana, the government apologized. The government didn't even exist. Ghana didn't even exist during slavery. So why are they apologizing? So anyway, that's a whole nother story.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because when I first started my journey in Ghana, and in the West, we're used to certain standards. Like everyone has a website. If you don't have a storefront, like you have an online presence, like that. If you don't, automatically credibility gone. So when I started my Ghana journey, I expected the same thing: legitimate websites, emails that don't have Gmail at the end or Hmail, like that have your business name, after the @sign.
There's some people got AOL.
That's a sign. That's a scamming sign. The way the emails are, if there's no signatures, if it's too much words. And so once I had to accept the fact that that's not the standard in Ghana for some of the companies to have websites. And then some of them are still using @Gmail and stuff. So you just got to, like you said, do your due diligence. And that's why it's so important. You got to go there. Like there's no way, this is just me. I wasn't going to buy land or anything without going there and walking on the soil. But that's one thing I did, right?
But you did. You really did a phenomenal job. And I'm gonna tell you something. Now my vernacular is going to be. I haven't done these long forms in a while, so I'm kind of pent up with stuff. So stuff might just come out. Y'all forgive me. Y'all still, everybody watching, y'all still love me, y'all, because y'all know how this is.
Don't unsubscribe.
No, don't unsubscribe. So, but the reality is, jokers are lazy. So they don't want to get on a plane and go. So they'll say, I trust you. I'm going to just send my money, sight unseen. And I know so many people who do it. Now, sometimes it works. Sometimes. But then when it doesn't work, they want to cry foul and blame the whole system. And it's like, dude, why didn't you get on a plane? Either we're lazy or we want to be cheap. And I'm not generalizing. I'm talking to the lazy and cheap people. Those who, like you, who got on the plane and went over and put your boots on the ground.
Five times.
There you go, 5 times. There's a difference in the process. And so I'm hoping that, when people hear these stories, now, let me say this, these scammers are getting more sophisticated. They're even getting their websites up. They're getting like legitimate websites and, scammer@scammers.com or whatever. And they're doing it. But obviously some easy ways to catch this stuff is when the stuff is just low grade, personal emails. So if you're going to do international business on any level, you want to make sure that you have you understand the culture. Because in Ghana, I'll just use Ghana for example. The Ghanaian way is the Ghanaian way. So you got to learn the Ghanaian way. Okay, so what is the Ghanaian way? That's what you go find out on the ground, or you pay someone to teach you what the Ghanaian way is, or you just kind of study. The other dangerous thing is that when people get on Instagram, like December just happened in Ghana, and I can't tell you how many people coming to us to want to do trips to Ghana, talking about I saw this on Instagram, and I said, now first of all, I said Instagram and TikTok, those are sound like little clips, and they're going to show you what they want you to see. But there's a flip side to it as well. So while Ghana has all this glamour and glitz, and it is one of the most beautiful places you'll ever visit in the world, it also has this subculture that is waiting to exploit you. If you are not savvy, they're waiting like this. They're salivating. They're salivating. They're capturing this, and they're salivating.
What they're doing is waiting for you to be emotionally imbalanced, so they can take advantage of it.
Yeah. See, I got you doing that mess now. People at home will be doing like this. The little kids watching the video. They're like,
"We're gonna go viral, Jay. We're gonna go viral. You got to add a beat to it." Ghana. Yeah. No, that's funny.
So what would you say, Leslie? As I try to break this back to a level. See, we can laugh about it because we could be angry and on here ranting and all of that kind of stuff, there's a time for that. Don't get me wrong, because I'm sure you'll see me rant over the course of the next year about something. But in this particular case, what would you say to the person who, and you broke it down when you talked about, an email, don't look for the Hmail or the Gmail, but for the person who really wants to go, they want to purchase land. You've been through the ups and the downs, because I've watched the victories. You had some victories in there, and then you dealt with the foolishness that came along with the assault, and then all of the drama that you've been going through with trying to get the papers on the land and all of that. And these little chiefs out here that's playing games and all this other, all of that. See, that's the stuff people don't know about. They don't know they got to deal with all of the little chiefs and stuff they want to, and half of these chiefs will sell out their own village.
It was the whole reason why I went through what I did with the beachfront property. Let's talk about the origin of everything.
All right, let's talk about it.
The chief. That's the origin. Really? Yeah. So if the chiefs are not doing anything properly in order, everything else is going to just fall apart.
And just so before all the folks get all nervous and everything, we talk about the chief. Ain't no different than them Negro and black politicians in America that sell out the black people in the community. And they'll sit up there and you find out later that they were doing all this other kind of stuff, and you voted them in office just because they were black, and then they were in their whack and buck breaking all the community. And by the time it was all said and done, you found out, oh man, so-and-so took all the money from all the people and running around the world. So it's the same mentality, and it's not just black folks, because white folks do it too. Folks do it all over the world. So that's just for that person who's ready to kind of chime in there and say something about, well, how come you talking about the chiefs? I'm talking about whoever's in authority. And then if they aren't making sure that things are done in order, because you've had stories of land being sold multiple times over and over, one plot or whatever sold to 5 different people, and then it gets caught up in litigation, and then it came back because some chief didn't do what the chief was supposed to do, and this person didn't do what they were supposed to do. Right. And that person, now for me personally, I'm not fooling with the land. I can tell you, if only way I fool with the land is I'm going to the people who really run the land, right? The people above the chiefs, because there's an entity above the chiefs.
Really?
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes.
Well, I know the government. There's government land, but
there's a entity above that particular government that runs the land. Oh, come on. Yeah. Who do you think runs these countries?
Oh, should I say it?
So go ahead. No,
white folks. Okay.
Well, yeah, but them too. But of course. But you're gonna go either to France, to the UK, or the US, or the World Bank, or the IMF, And in that particular case, you can pretty much get done whatever you want to get done. Go to China or whatever, however you want to do it. So there's ways to make it happen. And again, I'm not trying to make people discouraged about doing business, but we got to give you the real, because if you don't give you the real, then what ends up happening, you go over there, you get your heart broken. Now you're talking bad about the people and all this other kind of stuff. And it's really the system that's corrupt. The system in and of itself, when you have a lands commission that is incompetent and you have people who are working in these places that are 100% incompetent, you have to know going in on the front end, I'm going to deal with a level of incompetence. So that's a part of understanding the culture. Say, okay, go ahead. No, go ahead. Let me move on.
No, and people are so underpaid that there is no motivation to do things right. So that goes into the economic stance of the country.
And that goes into, the way the system is oftentimes designed is to make sure you pay people. The way poverty works, the way you keep people impoverished is, one, you get into their mind. And the way you get into their mind is you put them in survival mode. And then when they're in survival mode, they just want to do just enough to survive. And when you do just enough to survive, you really don't thrive and get ahead. So you just kind of stay in that place of, you know what, I'm here. If I eat today, and so that's what you'll find in many areas where poverty, when I say poverty, meaning the lack of resources, is intentional. And so when we think about the government, these governments are European governments. So when you go into one of these different African countries, the way the whole thing is structured is European. And one of the conditions, they have constitutions. Where do constitutions come from as far as modern day? Now, that might have been something that the colonizers stole from way back when and then morphed. But today, when you look at a country in their constitution, they might have had presidents who were there and legislators, but who controlled them and told them what needed to go into these constitutions and why is it structured? Go ahead.
Even the indentures, that's from Europe. That's a European concept. That's not even a Ghanaian thing. You can Google literally where the indentures, I talked about this on my live before, where the indentures come from, where? There's a British way of land ownership or land buying, because they have leasehold land too. Ghana has leasehold land, especially since 2019, they created the new Land Act law. And that's why, it is what it is. I mean, all this right now is British, all of it.
But think about that though. You got a lot of Black Americans going, I'm getting away from America. I'm leaving America behind.
There is no getting away. There's no getting away. Let me tell you this. I talked about it, I just never posted it. I was walking just down the beachfront land when I lived in the Coconut Hut. And, just talking to people in the neighborhood. And there's white people, Cape Coast, Central Region. There's a couple of white people that live on the beach where I am. And you know what they started? The white pages. White pages, so they can only do business with each other. It has the nerve to name it white page. This is going on like 15 minutes from, where the beachfront property is. They are over there uniting to make sure they're still going to thrive, even though they're on the African continent. So if they can do that just within themselves, imagine what the higher ups are doing to make sure that they keep their position. This is not a game. This is not a game. And when I first went to Ghana, I had my Western mentality. I was like, let's go look into some banks to see, loans I can pull out so I can buy.
I remember when we had the conversation.
I went to these banks. I said, blackface, right? The managers, everyone black, but the owners, because I Googled who's the CEO of Echo Bank. Who's the CEO? Thank goodness for Pan-African Echo Bank. But other banks, I was like, your CEO is a white South African. Your CEO is an Englishman. I mean, most of them don't even live here. I said, what is going on? And that was my first trip to Ghana. I said, okay, I see. There is no getting away. It's a global system.
Remember when you said you would, when we first met, and you were like, I'm trying to find a black bank and I want to do black business. And I was like, yeah, okay. And I know you looked at me sideways like he's not really down for the cause.
You ain't for the people.
He ain't for the people. And so I was like, well, there is no such thing as a black bank. when you, especially in a white controlled system, because where does the currency come from? When you have something like the World Bank, an entity like the World Bank or the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, I believe that's what it stands for, that can control the value of your currency.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at where they're headquartered, that should tell you everything right there. So go Google where the World Bank and IMF are headquartered, or their primary bases, and it'll tell you a great deal about who's running the show. Go ahead.
I wrote letters to the CEO of EcoBank, and they replied.
Oh, what did they say?
They replied. So I said, because remember at one point I couldn't get my money from Chase to Ghana, and I went back and forth like 3 times, and they're like, oh, because at this time, I don't know now, but Ghana was sanctioned. JP Morgan Chase was not doing business with Ghana, and that's why my money wouldn't transfer. And I'm just like, okay. They're like, yeah, there's just some regions we don't do business with. I'm like, okay, that's nice to know. And that's why I did a whole video on it. And I went to Bank of America, and money transit, like within 3 days, my money was sent. And so that's what triggered me I'm like, okay, there has to be a bank here that's Black owned in the States that I can work with EcoBank with, right? So the Black owned bank I was with here, that's the name of it. They're like, we're not on that level to do international business. So when I wrote the letter to the CEO of EcoBank, and one of the representatives got back to me, I said, what can we do? So we can do transition, because there's even though like it's a white-owned system or whatever, those little fees, we can still collect it within our community, exactly. And the money that we do, loans and everything that can go to our community, right? Yeah. We can do a little bit of something, it's not all hell, right? And he said, oh, the only bank that we're associated with in the States is a Russian bank. I forgot the name. Something like that. So I said, oh, so if I have a bank account at that bank, I can get my money to transfer easily. He was like, yes. And I was like, they're not even partnered with a Black-owned bank, even in the States. It's still European. Yeah.
So we hate to burst folks' bubbles out here.
White pages.
And that's the, when you go you go to these different countries. I know I was in the queue in Kenya, and it was like 200 people in the queue, and I was one of 2 people who had an ounce of melanin in the skin. And I mean, one of 2 people in a queue of 200 people. And I said, okay, this is like Africa. Kenya is Africa. Mm-hmm. There's no question marks about Kenya. Some places are like, well, I went up there and I wasn't sure. They didn't look African, so I'm not sure. Kenya is not one of those places. It is. You see the Maasai, the culture, and you understand that is a very, very, from a cultural perspective, you see the African culture that's there. You don't see the Arab culture. You don't see the European culture. You see a lot of indigenous culture, which has not been. Now you do see a lot of heavy European influence, especially when it comes to the government and educational level. You do see, you see Britain in there.
Of course, because they want that mind. If they can keep your mind, then it's all good.
Well,
they don't have to be there. They don't have to physically be there.
That's how they mastered this thing. They've mastered this thing to a point where they don't even have to be. By the time I saw the white Jesuses everywhere, and by the time I heard some of the mentalities that I've heard throughout, not just in Africa, but in Central America and South America, and I know in America, the whole thing is jacked up. As far as mentality is concerned, you realize that this plan that was set in place more than 500 years ago has worked pretty much flawlessly, and it continues to work because now it regenerates itself. So now
we're teaching our children this. We're teaching them the same thing.
We're teaching them this foolishness. I was taught this foolishness. I apologized to my sons. I said, look, y'all, I'm sorry. I ain't know no better. I was raised in this mess. I was raised thinking that this made me smart. But what it did was it dumbed me down. It dumbed me down to the point where, you see a lot of us walking around confused, but yet believing we're not.
Identity crisis. Identity crisis.
But in denial. So that's the part that makes it brilliant. It's like you got people walking around really confused, really culturally, socially, historically ignorant, but yet believing that they're really smart. Not, and when I say smart, maybe intelligent, but knowledgeable, and walking around arrogant with it. It's like, I said, that's a masterful thing. I said, if you can get somebody to believe something and have them walk around like that, and then teach their children this stuff.
If you can get, oh, go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead.
If you can get someone to not tap into their spirit and rely on someone else's vision and someone else's narrative, it's over. And this whole experience has taught me that, oh my God, I've been ignoring what's on the inside of me, being influenced from exterior, whether it's religion, indoctrination, all these other ideologies. I was making decisions from other people's visions for their lives and for other people's community. So after this whole experience, I said, oh, I'm cutting all y'all out. And I'm going to spend time with me and God, me and my spirit, me and my soul. Let me restore myself and just tap in and watch the glory flow. And yeah.
Well, folks don't like when you start talking like that.
Ooh, I almost flipped off the camera.
I thought you was about to say, you almost flipped me off. Like, put your hand down. Get back down there. Get back down there. You better.
I'm so free, Jay. That's why I can't be totally mad at all this. Because the freedom I have now, oh man. I feel like I have wings. Like I could literally just fly right now. That's how free I feel. And it's just getting started. I can't wait for not even 5-10 years. I can't wait for the end of this year to see where I'll be.
But you went through a lot to get there, though, and you went a lot of what you went through to get there. The average person might not be able to handle it. The average person, to get to this point of recognizing that you're free and you're willing to do certain things differently, the introspection that you've done, the willingness to travel and to try something different. And we share this because you got scammers out here that are looking to exploit those who are maybe looking to do it the lazy way, to do it the easy way. And so it's a warning, but at the same time, this is real stuff, y'all. This stuff, that scam stuff comes from somewhere. Yes, somewhere. The person's heart, but still.
Imagine the level of desperation. That these scammer people, it's coming from a level of desperation. They're in need. Like, I'm not making an excuse for them. But another thing I thought was, dang, I know it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
So why not look at, if you don't want to work, and then it's very hard for you even to elevate in your country, right?
Yeah.
Let's use the essence of people that are winning, that have this power to manifest something from nothing. Let's just jump on that bandwagon and see what we can get out of it.
Well, in all fairness, because I know, again, I'm mindful of those who are watching, and they may feel as though we are referring to people on the continent of Africa, but as anyone watches my channel, and you know how I roll, I give it all from every perspective. And we got a lot of Black Americans and Black British and Black Canadians who go to the motherland and they scam just as hard as anybody else. They go and they tap into that same thing. Oh, my brother, come on over here. We got you set up. We're going to get you right. And they take your money because you trust in that black card. I'm telling y'all, be careful with that black card.
That black card got me in Ghana.
No, it didn't.
Yes, it did.
The Black American card got you?
A Black American woman talking about Brown Earth.
Not hey girl, hey. Hey girl, hey. She ain't do that to you now. She ain't do that to you. Hey girl,
smooth. Hey. I have a video on this. She smooth took my money. I said, wow. It doesn't matter. Even in the States. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, even in the States, people from India with an accent. Hello, how you doing today? Like, they're big. They will get your money too.
I tell people all the time, they come to Africa and lose their street sense. They would never go, man, they give you such a hard time. You know how we do each other in America. We give each other such a hard time in America. Oh, you doing the business? Nah, that's all right. I'll catch you next time. I ain't gonna, all right, I'm going over here You know, you gonna cut me a deal, you gonna give me a hookup on that thing for real, and then you don't get the right hookup, they'll go spend 3 times as much right around the corner to someone else, you know. So, but then we go over to the continent, it's like we just, like, something happens, like we forget that, hey, I still got to have my street sense about me, and people will take you for bad, you know. And I had one brother one time, he came in, he said, look, he said, I don't care nothing about this black thing. He told me straight, he looked right at, he said, I don't care nothing about this black thing. He said, I got these 2 Jews and they're funding me, so they're using me. I'm gonna use them, and I'm gonna use black people. I understand the game.
Wow.
I said, oh, okay, this is how you live. Okay. I mean, he told me straight up, he said, I don't care nothing. He said, I'm gonna use the black card to my advantage. And if Negroes, and he didn't say Negroes, he said niggas. He said, if niggas don't have enough sense to be able to track me down and figure out what I'm doing, then that's on them. That's exactly that. That's
wow.
Exactly, and I was like, but I mean, that's what we do. That's what, not everybody, of course.
People just don't say it like that and so direct.
Well, you know, depending on what circles you're in, they say it in America. They're like, that's where the whole Black American politician thing comes from. If I were to run for office right now, let's just run it down. Let's say, for example, some entity comes to me and say, look, Jay, we put $10 million in your pocket. You're gonna be the face of what we want. We want you to take all of that stuff, all of your knowledge, start talking all that African talk to everybody, resonate with them. We're gonna give you $10 million. But really what we want you to do is to get this one agenda behind the scenes that nobody else really is paying attention to. And we will use you to be the Trojan horse to get that agenda passed, while all the black people are looking at your black face and your black experience. We'll craft your story. We'll make sure they understand, you know, growing up in a fatherless home and you've done all these amazing things. But yet the real agenda is to be able to slide something through with unbeknownst to the community. And that's why our community stays at the same level psychologically. And the same game is played over and over. All you got to do is put Democratic Party and a black face, and you automatically have, that's ingrained. That's ingrained in someone's psyche to say, okay, Democratic Party and a black face, that means they must be all right. If you put a black face in a Republican Party, there must be something corrupt with them, without understanding that you're dealing with 2 wings on the same bird. But folks don't hear that because that messes with their training.
They call it dissonance. How was it called?
Cognitive dissonance.
Cognitive dissonance. And that story reminds me of another Black American in Ghana pushing another agenda, which you interviewed, but I'm not going to call it out. Oh, yeah, you didn't know though. You didn't know.
I told you. Shame on me. Shame on me. Bad host. What's wrong?
But how are you going to know though? How are you going to know? Right. The only reason I found out is because this individual tried to, because you know my process was all cash. Like, I'm going to raise cash. I'm not getting into debt. If I was the, I want to get into debt, I would have fell for his offer. So eventually, I got to know this individual, and he was literally sent here to find people representing a white business.
That might be the same dude.
Oh, well.
We'll talk off camera. We'll talk about that. Let me find out, because wait a minute.
So he was purposely came here to get people to check out these loans, find land for this white organization. And I said, no, thank you. Well, he followed up with me for a couple of months. Oh, I want to be with you next to on the beach. He wanted to get all the information. I was like, bro, you little coon, I ain't telling you nothing. And eventually he stopped following up with me. Is this too real, Jay? Is this too real?
No, it's perfect. Because folks appreciate. See, the thing is that a lot of times people romanticize all this stuff. And when they start romanticizing, they romanticize America. That's why you have a lot of people running to America from the continent, because they're thinking, they're going to go find the land of milk and honey, when it's really thieves, lies, and hookers. But I'm talking about, I'm not talking about ladies. I'm talking about hookers from the standpoint of, cultural and systemic people out there just being prostituted in many different ways on many different levels. So that's what they discover when they get there, and then they want to go back home. Same things happen to us. We romanticize Africa. We watch too many episodes of Roots, and too many, so we get over there and we're expecting everybody to know our education, our history. So we get upset when they don't know our history. Half of us, most of us don't know our history in America. Black Americans, we don't know our history for real.
That's facts. I didn't.
That's what I'm saying. So we upset because the people in Africa don't know it. Now, you see how twisted that is? You see how backwards that is? We're upset because somebody doesn't know the very history we don't know ourselves. And for those who really know the history, then they understand why, those on the continent might not know it, because they understand who controls the education system. Right.
They weren't taught. I had to learn that too. Once I learned, I'm like, oh, you guys don't even know what happened to us? Like, no, we were on a boat and went somewhere else. And that was it. Some people don't even know about the slave dungeon. And they live on the continent. They live in this very country.
I've had people tell me that. Yeah.
So I was so culture shocked when I went to Ghana for the first time. I came back so sad because it was like all this information I had to learn in like very quickly. And once I realized, I said, oh, we're not getting away from nothing. It's just, instead of them having their hand on your neck, they just have someone else's hand connect to someone else's hand on your neck.
That's it.
That's it. And you feel a little bit more freedom because it's not a white hand on your neck. It's just another hand. You think that's your brother, your sister, right? And they're just letting you out just a little bit more, But at the end of the day, like I said, we got to tap into our own spirits, our own vision, and manifest nothing from something. That's a concept that we're created in the image, And I decided I'm gonna operate in this image because these other images being put on me is not working. We're surrounded by it.
Man, I we did some interviews and I shared some of my journey and of course folks had problems with that, and I didn't give a rat's anything about what anybody had to say, because when you're free, you're like, yo, it is what it is. You can dislike, you can unlike, you can unsubscribe and all of that. Live long enough and your tail will end up subscribing again. I said, I would be curious how many people unsubscribe, and then I got to catch myself because I'm really free with it now. And then they mess around and get their hind parts whipped out there in these streets. And then they say, you know what, let me go back over there and see what he talked about. Because he did call me out. I didn't like it when he said it, but I lived long enough. I'm ready to come on back.
They come back. They come back, right? They always do. And you know how I find out? Because things get sent to me on accident. Oops, right? People, I want to say this. I love the people, the small but mighty crew, whether you're in the UK, which is my second most watched area. United States was the first, and third is Ghana and Germany are pretty tied. I'm so grateful for this community. The Ghanaian people that came together whenever I need help, right? When people love you or people respect you or people like really appreciate you, I don't think there's anything stronger than a community, unity through community. Without the Ghanaians, wow, I wouldn't have made it this far. Like I would have lost all my money. But there are solid, great people in Ghana. And I know we're talking a lot right now, and most of it's, it's the truth.
They've been waiting on long form, so we're giving it all.
Right.
Long form.
But the power of unity, what they showed me and what this community has showed me, I'm like, once you have a community on your side, you're good. And they end up fighting the battles for you. And
go ahead.
And that's what I tapped into. I tapped in the power of community. So now how can I say this? I can stay in my feminine energy, right? And I can just speak a word, ask something, ask for help, and then everything just start manifesting because of that power of community. When I was doing everything on my own and trying to hustle, that's when I was getting jacked up and grabbed and slapped and stuff. I'm like, you know what? No, I'm no longer going to operate like this, which is another Western thing. We do a lot of things individually. But I really learned the power of community through all this.
Well, to your credit and what you were saying about the Ghanaian people, if it weren't for the Ghanaian people, and that's why I believe it's important for folks to understand that, one, it's not generalized. So when we speak about people, generalizing it is always going to get us in trouble, because there are so many Ghanaians that wherever I go, they will come along. If I'm in an airport, I've been everywhere. I've been in Turkey. I've been all over. I was in London in Carnival. I was, I'm thinking about the different airports I've been in, and run into so many people from Ghana who say, I've been watching and following you. And I've been saying these types of things for the past 3 years, to say, listen, y'all, we got to do better. And then those in the US, they'll come travel with us because they're like, you know what, I think I need to go see. And we help people to understand the cultural nuances and differences. And it just takes them to another level. People are tired of the foolishness. They're tired of their minds being played with. Now, some people don't mind because they like that. That's where they are. That's why I say live long enough, and then you'll see exactly what we're talking about. But for those who've lived long enough, I've had many people say, I felt what you're saying. I wish I could say it. I didn't have the courage to say it. I would get shut down if I said it. And it's so good to know that I'm not the only person thinking this way. You have so many Ghanaians who want to understand, and Nigerians and Sierra Leoneans, Togolese, who want to understand what happened through the Black American experience, or those in Brazil and Colombia who want to understand their roots in Africa. And we have all of these systems in place that are designed to keep us separated. But now when you have platforms like this, and someone hears this, they don't go to those places and then get their heart broken, because they understand, one, people are people everywhere. They understand also their culture and how people within their own culture will sell them out. You have people like, the chiefs will sell you out, and the Black politician will sell you out, and the Black preacher will sell you out. All kinds of things will run down the road, and you're putting your faith and hope into these different people, and you realize, you say, you know what, let me take this case by case, because there will be a good chief who comes in and takes care of the community and does what the chief is supposed to do. There will be that Black politician who comes in and really has a desire to help the community and advance the community. There will be the Black preacher who comes in and says, you know what, I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do for the people because I believe that's my godly assignment. That's what I've been given. So when we take it on an individual level and don't generalize it, now we can appreciate people, just like you said, the community. Now the community forms around whatever the messaging is. The community forms and will protect that. And so what you have done in Ghana is something that your community, like you said, unity through community. They came together. When dude started tripping over there at the place and he put his hands on you, the community raised up. And
they raised up big time. Right. And I haven't had to lift a finger since. But
I'm surprised he hadn't had a tire put around him yet. I'm
right, or his ear cut off.
I'm surprised it hadn't happened,
Yeah.
But those are the things that when the community hears about it and they say, this is not how we want to be represented. That's why when I talk about Black Americans going to scam and stuff and going to scam other Black Americans, there's this unwritten code in many parts of Black America that you don't ever criticize us. And that's why we continue to get buck broken all over the place, because nobody wants to say, or nobody wants to talk about the skid mark draws out here that all of us got these brothers and sisters taking over to the continent. They go take that mess over to the continent, got embarrassing everybody else who's trying to do right. They go over there looking down on the people, talking trash to the people, bad attitudes, entitlement mentality, posting crazy things about them on social media, and doing all of that. And really acting like a colonizer, just with a Black face. That whole essence, that whole aura.
We are just exposing the low frequency people. That's all we're talking about. We're just coming really hard. That's all we're talking about. The lovely people, we love you and we're grateful for you. And watch it. You get some more watch it from Jay. But we're talking about low frequency people that need to be exposed.
Absolutely. And that's every culture. The point is that it's happening in every culture. And that's why, the one thing, a friend of mine sent me some comments. And, the one thing that they want to do is to get African Americans and African Canadians and African British and African and those who are on the continent, Ghanaians and Nigerians, get everybody fighting each other over cultures. And really, now this is going to mess everybody up. This is gonna mess everybody up.
We ready. Mess us up.
You ready for this? This is gonna mess everybody up.
Bring it on.
All right. Even the identities that we have within our respective countries even when I talk about if I identify myself as Sierra Leonean, I got a Sierra Leone passport. If I identify myself as American, if I identify myself as Ghanaian, if I identify myself as British, all of these, let's take it to the Francophone. If I identify myself as Togolese or Senegalese or Cameroonian or Cote d'Ivoirian or Ivorian, wherever I identify myself within those countries, if I identify myself as a country, that is an entity that was formed and created by a colonizer. These countries were not formed and created by Africans. Now, the independence movement and all of that, they put African faces in there. But when you go back to 1885 and you see how Africa was carved up, and you understand all of these entities, there were no Africans sitting at the table. In the
Berlin Conference, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, but even in the United States, the states are even formed. Even I'm South Carolinian. All right, well, what is that? What is that named after? Who was Caroline that it was named after? That? Who's Virginia that it was named after? Who's Maryland that it was named after? These are Baltimore. Where are these? Yeah. Where are these places? Understanding that Texas used to be considered a country. The Louisiana Purchase that runs all the way through the lower part of the United States up into Canada, the French and the British, and how that whole thing and the Spanish and that the influence of all of those when it comes to America. So you start when I started understanding that type of, when my identity was now still shaped and formed, and the term African is even coming from European, and how they exploit it, and the whole black white thing and where that comes from.
Right.
You start. Go ahead.
One thing I'll never forget that you said, this is before I was delivered. Okay. You said, oh, I'm a global citizen. Yeah. You said, I'm a global citizen. And I was like, what? You supposed to be, in my mind, I never told you this. I'm like, you're from somewhere. You're a descendant from somewhere, and you're not trying to claim that, You're supposed to be with us. My Pan-Africanism there.
Go ahead, confess it. It's all right.
Yeah. And now I understand everything that you have said to me. Clearly now.
Yeah, well, go ahead.
Because you said, I'm going to learn the system, right? And I said, okay, I get it.
But you have to, because if I identify too much with any country, I'm identifying with systems really of oppression. Now, my culture, I was born in South Carolina. I grew up in DC. So I love my DC culture, but I'm not, even like, I'm proud to say, just because when you're from this area, we got this little thing, we got our own little vibe and arrogance and all. I'm from DC. You from PG County, no, I'm from DC. I grew up in DC. That's right. I went to DC public schools. What you talking about? Don't even mess with me. So it's things that we have culturally. But then as you begin to enlighten yourself and you begin to say, where did DC come from? DC just got independence back like in the 70s.
Really?
Independence back, yeah, because it was, when all before, it's not independent. But they finally started letting the mayors and stuff come through. And so you started having that wave. That was a new concept. I didn't know. But so when people can come in and they play these anthems, why do the anthems in Africa all sound European? You go to the national anthems and people standing up, putting a hand on their heart and everything. So when you start putting your hand over your heart and you start putting a European white wig on your head and you're standing there and you're supposed to be an intelligent judge or lawyer or whatever, and your crown is a white man's costume, that already calls into question, I don't want to say intelligence, but knowledge, awareness. Do you understand what you're doing?
We're not studying far enough. We're not going back enough. We go just further enough so we can be comfortable and it feeds our belief and our faith. Let's go to the origin of things. What's the origin? Now we start studying the origin of things and how we got to where we're at. Shoot. Do you understand it? I don't know if I should say this, but there'll be a lot of people dropping their religion.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, the reality is a lot of people don't know why they're doing what they're doing. I know I went through most of my life not knowing why I was doing what I was doing, and I was listening to other Negroes who were sitting up there telling me this is what was right. And then that's why I say live long enough And you know a tree by the fruit that it bears, if we want to go down that road. And I'm watching Negroes just do the same old thing week after week, year after year, talking about they're blessed and highly favored. And I'm just kind of looking like, if that's blessed and highly favored, I don't want that.
We don't want it.
If that's what that is, I don't want that, because, and then I'm watching other people who don't do what they do, and they seem to be doing so much better, but you can't believe with that, you can't believe that, because that, and I'm looking, but I don't want what you have. I don't want to walk around thinking like how you're thinking. I don't want to walk within the limitations of your mind.
That's it. Limitations.
The limitations, the boundaries. I can't live like that. And so if I'm wrong for not wanting to live within the little minuscule way of thinking that particular person or that particular group is operating in, then so be it. But guess what? When I started seeing for myself and educating myself and traveling the world and going around the continent of Africa and meeting all the beautiful people that I've met in Africa and South America and Central America and the UK and America and all of the in Paris and all these different places all over the world. And I'm not going to be what you will not find is me as a black man standing in front of the Eiffel Tower. We're talking about, look at me, y'all. I'm in front of the Eiffel Tower because I know better now.
You know more, yeah.
Had I known,
origins.
I know systems. I look at the results of systems, and that's why we try to educate people and try to show people and try to say, look, we got to do better than just doing things for the gram. I've watched Negroes do stuff, do it for the gram. Negroes just doing stuff for the gram. I said, we got to get deeper than this, y'all. We got to get deeper than doing these different things, because otherwise, what's going to happen is that we will be in the same position 20 years from now. Talking to be blessed and highly favored, and we're doing the same old thing.
Same thing. And that becomes a standard.
There you go. Gotta get some free land. Y'all got some free land. Gotta get some free land.
That becomes a standard.
Free land over there. Oh, shoot, what other countries are giving away free land? Can I get some free land? I need to get some free land. Instead of getting their behinds on a plane, go working for it. Go work. Do what you need to do.
Go. Faith without works is dead. Go.
See, you still preaching. Go ahead, Leslie Jones.
Because you know what? I've never said this on public platform. Did I just lose my thought? Maybe I'm not supposed to say it.
You about to go ahead and confess something? Go ahead. We're waiting for the confession.
Did I lose the train of thought? What was I saying? What led up to that? Maybe I'm not supposed to say it. That's why I lost my.
Well, no, I believe you were. No.
So, you want to know? You're like.
No, I was talking about, okay, you were preaching and then you were about to say something about, you know what? It was like you were about to say, I don't know what you were about to say, but it sounded like it was really good. And I'm sure everybody was.
Sorry, guys. I guess he'll come up in another interview because it literally just left my mind. Stole the thought. Uh-oh, there goes the devil, blaming the devil. Oh, I remember. So, something to do with the devil. No. Once, because we did an interview about me walking away from Christianity, and you brought up like, oh, you're still preaching, because this is a conversation. Oh, I'm letting you guys into my God life. This is a conversation I was just praying to the Spirit of God. I said, obviously, the Bible that we practice right now, the European Christianity, it was stolen. That's the factual. From our ancestors. And I was like, why did I gravitate to that so much, right? It's because it's ancestral. So I said, God, whatever is of you, let me keep that. And whatever is not of you, let it fall apart. Fall out. So when I say things like this, and I quote certain scriptures, that's because that's part of my ancestral heritage. Yeah. That's going to stay with me. Everything that is good and worthy is going to stay on me and in me and around me. Now, there's some scriptures you'll never hear me quote, because that's done for.
I'm not even going to ask which ones. I won't even, which ones? I'm being nosy now.
Which ones?
That's real. But what you're saying is real.
That was one of my desires of my heart. I said, whatever is of you, great. Let's keep that. Whatever is not, go ahead and cut it off.
And it takes a lot of courage to get to that place. There are a lot.
Say it one more time. You cut off.
I said it takes a lot of courage to get to that place. Sure, because there are a lot of people who have done the system. for a lifetime. They're like, look, you know, I've given all my money to this system and I'm still struggling. They're believing people who, I remember I was watching this one documentary.
Jay, I don't mean to interrupt you, but is your hand somewhere on the mic or on the laptop? There's like,
how about now?
Sound.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Hold on, let me see. Okay, there we go. How about now?
That's good. Because we know you want to say something deep. We want to hear all of it.
You want to hear it all. So I remember when we did one of our interviews, and folks started emailing me and stuff, and so they wanted to try and get me to watch these documentaries, and the thought that came to my mind is that these people ain't been nowhere. All they know is Black American everything. Everything they know is Black American, and they've been trained by white people. I said they're too cheap to go travel. So they want to look for somebody else to do it for them. They want to read a book. And so they want to go read a book and think that's going to get it, but they've never taken their behinds, got on a plane and talked to the people and actually heard the stories from the other side. And I also said, people can travel in a bubble. Just because you travel the world, the only people you travel with are people in your circle and everybody thinks the same way and acts and talks the same way, you're not going to give anybody an opportunity. It's really cultish, unfortunately. You're not going to give anybody an opportunity to even challenge what you believe, because you insulate yourself and isolate yourself away from those who can challenge what you believe and hold you to answer questions that's easy and lazy to be able to avoid. So you rather, a lot of people live life in avoidance instead of being able to say, I can explain it to you. I can run, and I have yet to meet anybody who can run it down outside of the system, outside of the programming of the system. And so, go ahead.
No, I was going to say the significance about traveling. Perfect example. When I went to Ghana for the third time, we went to go look at some land. On the way there were swastikas, what we call swastikas, on houses, like on doors in Ghana. I said, why is there swastikas on these doors? And the person I was with said, this is the original sign of God. They took that and made it into their own. I said, they can't even create evil in their own. They don't have no creativity. And so I brought that up to say, if I didn't travel and see that for myself, that wouldn't have invoked the thought like, what else am I missing? What else? Swastikas in Africa on homes, several of them. It wasn't just like one. No, I said, he was like, this is the original sign of God. And so that triggered me studying and reading, which led me to African origins of Western religions. I said, oh my God, every single sign. All they did was just take.
But what you did was too deep for some people, because remember, and because of the years that I've spent in our culture, most of us, unfortunately, are too lazy to go. And even if you don't have the money to go travel, at least begin to take advantage of free resources like YouTube and even though you got to check that some of that information is off, and even when you travel, some of the information is off, but you're able to at least download it and filter it and have a desire to want to do better. But guess what? If you've been programmed to get stuff for free, if you've been programmed to not work, if you've been programmed that you're supposed to be given something because of what happened to your ancestors, and don't get me wrong, I'm all down with reparations.
We are due.
I'm down with it. Please understand that. But while I'm waiting for that to happen, I'm still doing my part in educating myself and not sitting around waiting for somebody to give me something. I'll be ready for it when it comes, and then I'll know what to do with it. But I sit down and master the system and understand it, like what I told you before. But if people are lazy, if they're not fiscally responsible within their own household systems, if they have been conditioned to make excuses and to blame and to point the finger at someone else instead of taking responsibility and saying, okay, well, these bad things did happen to me. or these bad things did happen to my culture, my community. So what am I going to do to improve it? Am I just going to sit here and wait for the thief to come back and give me what the thief stole, or am I going to go learn how? This is where some people are. We're
supposed to go glory to glory. We need to go from glory to glory. It's supposed to be an increase, a state of increase.
Well, but the thing is, even when it comes to glory, a lot of people don't even know what glory is, because
that's deep.
They've been sold a fake glory, but they've been sold a fake glory. If you're supposed to have gold, and somebody gives you fool's gold, and you believe it, then you will now make the fool's gold real gold. So when you see real gold, you will call the real gold fake. And that's what happens to the mind when people see. I tell you, I haven't done these in a while now.
Now you're letting it all out.
Now I'm preaching. But it's like, but it's real though, and I see it when I go different places. And I said, well, how is it that nobody even questions some of this stuff? How do we just stand here? And then sometimes people get mad at me. They say, well, the way you said it, you shouldn't have said it like that. You should have said it like this. And I'm like, well, I don't know any other way to say it other than to say it, because at least, I'm saying it the way that it comes out of my heart. So now I got to say it the way then somebody will say, well, you should have said it stronger.
You'll go crazy. You can't satisfy everyone.
So that's what I say. I'm free. So I'm going to just say it how it needs to be said. And this is
then what is the glory? What is the glory?
Well, but people, for many of us, we have been, again, we're born into a world, and we are indoctrinated from birth. Our parents put us in systems that are systems of indoctrination. When I remember going to first grade, and the first thing they did was put us in front of the flag and put us in, I pledge allegiance to the flag. And so I didn't know what I was pledging allegiance to. What does a first grader know? Well, how do I understand? Well, okay, what does that red stand for? What does that white stand for? And what does that blue stand for? What do those stars represent? Now, someone tells me the narrative they want me to know. So I learned this, and then they grade me based upon that. So I now, in my mind, say, well, this is Christopher Columbus discovered America, without really saying, well, how could Christopher Columbus discover America? When the question mark is whether or not he's been to America. He actually went to the West Indies. And like, well, why is it called the West Indies? These are all the things that you don't even think about until you get older. But by the time you start thinking about it, you've been indoctrinated with it. You've already they told you were smart because you passed the test answering the correct questions. It's the fool's gold I'm talking about. You answered the questions incorrectly, but you've been told that you answered the question correctly. So now you believe the fool's gold that has been put in front of you. So now when you hear, how could Christopher Columbus discover a place that people already existed? And go ahead.
So my question to you is, what is your glory? What is yours?
My glory is the freedom that I've been able to experience over the past 3.5, 4 years. And getting outside of the bubble. There's no glory greater than being able to educate myself, to be able to now process information for myself, whether it be good, solid information or inaccurate information, but at least my mind is working in a way that it never had the freedom to do before, because I was worried about what somebody else was going to say. Well, you can't say this. You shouldn't do this. Somebody, well, you are this or you are that. It's like, well, okay, get your behind out here and go walk in the same footsteps that I've walked in, then come back and have a conversation with me. If all you do is read a book and watch a YouTube video, or travel within a bubble, or travel with a mindset of you already know it all and nobody can teach you anything, then we're not even walking on the same path. So the glory is the fact that now when I go someplace, I'm free to be able to embrace the people. I'm not walking in there with preconceived notions. And even if I do have some preconceived notions, I have enough awareness to say, let me check that the minute I get off this plane. Let me try to get to know individuals versus looking at the entire culture or what Sally Struthers and all these other places have tried to tell me over the past years of my life. So that for me, the freedom is what the glory is. And so nobody can take the freedom of my mind. Nobody can come along. No guru, no preacher, no politician, no Negro or no whatever, no white person, no whoever, no troll can come along. And the freedom that I have in my own mind. And that's the only thing I can control. I can control anybody else's thoughts. I can't tell anybody else how they need to live. All I can do is control when I wake up every day, and I'm thankful for every day I wake up. Right. That's where the freedom comes from. And you know what, Leslie? It shows because it's contagious, and other people desire that same freedom without any strings attached. I don't have anything for them to join. It's like if you can come on, join a tour, but after that, I'm not trying to get you. I'm not holding on to you.
There's no hidden motives.
There's no hidden motives. It's like, hey, look, it's straight up. If you come on a tour, you're gonna pay to go on the tour. That's it. You know, it's not like, oh man, now we got to figure out what's the next thing for you to be. You know, it's like, hey, if you wanna be a part of it, come on, be a part. If it's, for some people it's for some people it's not. You know, all I can do is sit back and just live, and that rubs some people the wrong way. And I said,
ooh, they get mad at that. Ooh, they get mad.
I said, too bad. I said, because I lived too long in the bubble to be worried about what some jokers got to say, to be worried about if they like me or going to subscribe to me and all of that. You know, it's one thing I realize is that if I'm going to follow the scriptures, and in the scriptures, if there's a level of freedom I'm supposed to have, you know, if I was supposed to be bound to sin, if I was a slave to sin, then what type of freedom am I supposed to be enjoying? And so that's the thing. Meaning, if I'm supposed to now be living this life, shouldn't I be living in freedom as well? But unfortunately, many people, the scriptures become bondage for them. And it becomes they go from one set of scriptures to create bondage to another set of scriptures. They believe one religious system, and then they hop onto another religious system, and they still find themselves in bondage because of the level of interpretation that they, you know, whoever's interpreting for them, or however they interpret it. Some of us interpret through trauma. Some of us interpret through scarcity. Some of us interpret through lack. Some of us interpret through insecurities and identity issues. And so when you start interpreting through those filters, then it pollutes the very message that's supposed to be pure. So those are things. So when you say, sometimes it's being honest with yourself to say, look, I have issues, and I'll always have issues until I leave this earth. And so there's nothing I can do about that. All I can do is when it comes up, I recognize I have the issues and deal with them accordingly. But I'm not gonna walk around with my head down because somebody told me I need to be walking around sad and all these other kinds of, you walk around sad. And tell me, you walk around sad and broke down, beat down and disgusted and all of that. Shoot.
Look, when the freedom of, I mean, that's the same thing I would say if you were to ask me what's glory. Yes. Freedom is glory. And there's
what does that look like for you? Talk about that.
Freedom for me is being able to make decisions from my own self. Right? Like you said, when we make decisions through trauma or through something else, and it pollutes the understanding or the results. Freedom to me is being free from that type of pollution. Like, I want my decisions to come from me, my meditation time, not from a religion, a theology, a ideology. Me, I'm free from all of that now. And that is glorious. Because now the things I decide to do, they're my decision. And that is freedom. For me to decide what I want to do with my body, with my money, with my time, that to me is glorious.
Well, sister, now you know you can't be thinking what you're saying is not right.
Your body is the Lord. Well,
you're saying it's wrong. You're out here talking and you shouldn't be able to make your own decisions. As a matter of fact, daughter, talk to me before you go make a decision.
Why?
I approve of all of your decisions. And if that is the case, and if I don't approve, then you don't move. And you know, it's
what does that sound like? That sounds like a master.
It does.
That sounds like colonization. That sounds like oppression.
That's good. But a lot of people find that as freedom.
Oh. Well, that's not my glory.
Or they call it accountability. They say that's accountability. But
no one tell me what to do with my body or my money.
Well, that's what they do. Well, that's what they master out here. They master.
I came out of that already. That was, now, let me say this. I learned discipline, self-control, great. But now, I still practice that. But I get to make decisions for myself. I'm not a slave. I'm not an indentured servant. No.
Well, let me say you're a slave to righteousness. You're a slave to righteousness.
There's no, come on. The contradiction, oh my gosh, there's so much contradiction. How can I be the head and not the tail? Well, I can't make my own decisions. That makes no sense.
Well, they say you can make your own decisions as long as you make decisions within the construct.
No.
That's crazy.
It's contradicting.
It's the most insane thing.
How can I be made in the image and the likeness of God, but I can't think for myself? I can't make my own decisions. And I'm a sinner saved by grace, but I'm made in the image. God literally calls me Elohim. It's like we're Elohim. God himself called me a God. But I'm a sinner every day. What?
Well, I think
do you see what I'm saying?
Well, I think
it doesn't make sense.
It goes back to the interpretation. And that's what I think is important to understand. It goes back to how someone takes information, processes it, how they disseminate that information, and who they can influence with that information. Because I've been around a lot of religious environments, and all of the religious environments have claimed to be correct. They've all said that our way is the right way, or the other people's way is wrong, the other people's way is false, the other people's way is heretical, or where
division.
They've all, every single thing I've been a part of in my life has said that about something else.
And that sounds like a cult.
Well, I'm sure I was involved in some. I'm positive I was involved in
it's
some.
It's a culture. Culture. The word is it's in the word. Culture.
The word, you're right. Cult is the root in the root of or in the first four
letters, Jeff.
It's been a long time since I'm on live. I'm gonna got to count again. TLUT.
Look, we ain't live. You can edit that out.
I know, right? This would be wild, right? But the thing is that again, when I was in the midst of, I was ripe for the religious stuff to come get me. I was ripe for it. And I tell people all the time, I say the same God that was with me before I got caught up in those systems is the same one that's with me right now. The same one that wakes me up every single day. And so I've had people want to go take me out to lunch and dinner, send me emails, send me text messages, and really, and again, these people have had very limited exposures in their life, and I know that. So I was able to operate with a level of grace, if you will, and not just flat out, insult them, for their level of immaturity and naivete and ignorance. So I was like, okay, they're doing it perhaps because they're either being nosy or maybe they do care. I gave both. Maybe it's a combination of two. Maybe they're being nosy and they do care, or maybe they don't care at all, whatever.
That's what we're taught. We're taught through that to be invasive.
Yeah, and it's really none of their business, first of all. But they feel as though they have a relationship with you, and they feel as though, well, I want to ask, but they're asking to try to correct you without even getting the information, or when you start trying to tell it to them, they already have formulated in their mind that they know.
You can tell because they talk at you, not with you.
They don't really listen to what you're saying, but they're not really listening. I'm listening because I want to show you where you're wrong.
Right. There's a word for that. They're not active listening.
It's called a fool. That's what it's called. It's called a fool. We're gonna simplify it. It's a fool. Somebody need to sit down and learn something. But when you get caught up underneath,
I'll be humble.
Well, the scriptures even talks about that. How knowledge puffs up. So if somebody believes they know something, and then you can't tell them anything, that's a fool. I don't know how else to classify it. That's a fool. So somebody's like, Lord have mercy.
FOOL.
FOOL. And so what ends up happening is, when you spend years, I equate those years that I spent in those systems as bondage. Now, sometimes you go through bondage to teach you certain things. Sometimes you go through certain things to prepare you for different aspects of life and all
right.
that. But I can tell you that when I reflect and I replay a lot of it, I look at the results. I'm very practical, and I look at the scriptures and I say, wow. I said, the scriptures are saying that people should be like this, meaning they're supposed to thrive, they're supposed to mature. Ephesians 4 gives us a flat out example of when people come into the faith, they are supposed to now mature. They're not supposed to stay stagnant. They're supposed to be able to understand the deep truths of the faith and to then mature to the point of being able to share it with others. But what ends up happening within these particular systems, that scriptural reference is usurped, or it is either omitted. And so now the people now gravitate towards the scriptures that make them feel good, that speak to the recurring trauma issues. And I'm still coming up on the rough side of the mountain. Somebody's, my blessing, I'm gonna get double for my trouble.
It's all fear-based and emotionally driven. Yeah. Because, when you probably know this, when the Spirit of God moves, there's always fruit and evidence.
Yeah.
When we had a Holy Ghost, really? What did the preacher talk about? Oh, I don't know, but we had a good what? What do you don't know? But so whatever he said didn't get into your head for you to apply it to change the attitude of your life, right? Because the form of God, people have a form of godliness but no power. It's time for power, folks. If I was, let's say I'm a representative for the next generation. If that's me right now. We want to see power and evidence. This talking, this running around the church 7 times, all that, it's not flowing anymore. It's dying, to be honest.
Well, it's dead. And where there is no truth, there'll be no power. Where there's no truth, there'll be no power. And that's the reality. Not the type of power that people are claiming that they want. Now, you can talk about, if you want to look at the opposite side, there is a different opposing kind of power that will drain you and sap you and delude you and cause you to feel one particular way. But when you really dive into it, if you really want the power, I'm gonna tell you like this: the freedom, when you talk about glory, there is no glory without the truth. And so I had to be able to acknowledge the truth in order to find the glory that I experience today. If I wasn't able to acknowledge all of the different things that I was taught, go back to all of the educational systems that I was in and tear down the strongholds in my mind, then I would still be sitting there. I literally probably would have lost my mind if I'd have stayed in the DMV and kept doing the same old thing I was doing over the past years. I'd literally be sitting here. Yeah, it was rough. I got to a point, 2017, not to that point.
Right.
I got to a point where I was like, I can't live the rest of my life like this. I can't do this. This is crazy. This is insane. This is they say insanity is doing the same thing, expecting a different result. I'm doing the same thing week after week, day after day, year after year. And I have literally lost my mind. And I gotta go find it. I gotta go find my mind because nobody else is gonna find it for me. They'll bring me back a counterfeit mind. So I have to discover. I didn't discover who I was until I started traveling.
And to aid to what you said, truth. You said truth power without truth is not glory.
No. There is no power without truth, and there is no glory without truth.
So my thing is substitute truth with facts. Facts is what helped me get to the glory, get to the freedom. Because now the mind that God has given us, right?
Yeah.
I did not give up my intellect. I might have been hardcore, a super Christian, whatever, but I kept my intellect intact, right? And so when I started learning more of the facts of everything, the facts of religion, the facts of spirituality, and then added that to me, who I am as a person, who God created me to be, it was over. It was over. Everything that had no power just completely fell off me. Enter into the glory.
And there's some who will not understand it because it's not their journey.
top of that, I mean, that whole savior complex, that dropped off me too. I ain't here to save nobody. That savior complex that comes with religion, like, you know, it was and I used to be told that, oh, if you don't witness to someone and they die and go to hell, the blood is on your hand. That was part of the indoctrination that I grew up with.
Oh, that sounds like some of that Ezekiel 3 and Ezekiel 33. And when you look at it contextually, that was spoken to Ezekiel.
That's taught now. I remember feeling so bad not witnessing to people. And now I witness more to more people without even trying.
Your freedom will speak, your life will speak in ways. And what it does in many cases, it'll validate the scriptures that you've held on to. Somebody say you're living the scripture. You're living right. Your life embodies it. Your life embodies that versus right.
Christ consciousness. If we want to put a title on it, Christ consciousness.
You know, when
high level.
When as a matter of fact, when you have a lot of I think about it now, you have a lot of people who are searching and they're afraid to ask questions. And they're in particular afraid to ask questions that's going to challenge what those who they respect have taught them. And whenever you can ask a question and get a legitimate answer from someone, that should be the sign that something is wrong. If they don't want you, if you start asking it too, then what they do, instead of answering the question, they'll flip it on you and say, well, what do you believe? Mm-hmm. Like, now, Negro, I asked you a question. Just answer my question. Maybe I'm trying to figure out what I need to believe, but if you can't answer the question, then you're going to leave me out here trying to figure it out.
So, right, and then make you feel like something's wrong with you.
I'm trying to tell you.
After our interview, when you interviewed me about, me leaving Christianity, the DMs came through, but I want to be sensitive to the people that are literally in that transition stage or having those thoughts and like, ooh, what is this? The fear of like how you're going to be treated. One of my friends texted me and she said, I'm feeling the same way you're feeling, but I'm afraid. That's what this individual told me.
And I said, what afraid of, you think?
She's probably afraid of being, the unknown, right? Because there's still the concept of hell. That's held over us. Like, you can go to hell if you don't believe, right? That fear that they put on you. I'm not gonna say that, but fear of not knowing, dang, is hell real? I might go to hell if I, start declaring something else. Rejection. Rejection is mostly, fear is number one, of course, but then there's the rejection aspect of it. Because if you belong to a community and you no longer, believe in the foundation that held that community together, dang, you just lost your community. Fear of being alone. So I mean, there's a lot, but most of it stems from being afraid. But if you're willing to, I'm not saying you're gonna be alone for the rest of your life. I'm saying if you're willing to go into the deep, you know what I mean? Go into the deep.
Well, but to your point though, you might have to be willing to be alone if that is what
for sure.
That's what you've come to. If that is the place that you've come to, and everyone else may not be there, you may have to be willing to walk it alone. And so, and for some people, it's not.
That's scary in itself. Being alone is scary in itself for some people.
And they might not want to do that. They may say, you know what, I don't think I want to go and do all this stuff by myself. I'll just fake it, because you got a lot of people faking it. And they're saying, well, I bet if I say this, so-and-so's going to be disappointed in me, or this person's going to be disappointed, and or they, people treat you differently. They do. People don't know how to take you, especially if you start asking questions. If you, or the first thing they want to know is they want to know what you believe. And then when you hit them with a really intellectual answer, then they're like, oh, okay. And then they don't even, it challenges them to start thinking a little bit more, because it's like nobody came along and started, there was no one who tried to convert or anything like that. Sometimes people just have a brain, and that's I think that's the saddest part about us as culturally, as Black people, is that if we stop long enough and think, a lot of us think and have these questions, but we're afraid. Well, one, we may even ask the questions, but then we have such incompetent leadership to even, whether it be educators or religious leaders, you know, on a broad scale, so incompetent to be able to answer these questions, or even to be able to say, I don't know.
That's hard for people to say, I don't know.
I don't know. So I got to go find an answer for you somewhere. It's got to be an answer somewhere. Some things just don't have an answer within. The more you travel, the more you see. History has changed. The stories have changed depending on who's telling the story. You go one place, they tell you so much.
Right there, that's a lot just right there.
I mean, but it's so real. I mean, I've gone to different places and heard two different stories. And be like, so what do I believe? You know, based upon, okay, I have to pick one to believe. I've heard two completely different stories, historical accounts of something. It's like, well, I was told this. Well, no, that's not the case. Well, no, this is it. No, well, wait a minute. So what do I believe?
Even just listening to you, I'm just like,
But you know, a lot of people get to that place and they say, you know what, it's too much. It's too much. If I keep going down the rabbit hole, I'll never stop going down the rabbit hole. And it'll be, you know, what history was told 500 years ago. None of us were here. So we're having to rely upon what someone else said happened. You know, so we don't really know. They tell us this happened now. The evidence, that's why I travel, because the evidence is there. The evidence is still standing. When I go to that slave dungeon in Elmina and I look and I see the Portuguese symbol on the wall and I see that dungeon still there, like, well, this dungeon is here and that does have that owner. Okay, well, this is more evidence. You know, I can take this piece of the puzzle and put it together. You know how you had that movement of people in America talking about everybody's indigenous and Black Americans are not from Africa and all of that. And I said, now, if I'm a clown, I'm gonna sit up there and listen to that and not go investigate it. At least now let me go investigate what
investigate at the least.
At least let me go, and not just investigate from this side of the Atlantic Ocean. Let me go on over. All I had to do was to step foot in Nigeria and I knew where it came from. I was like, well, y'all can say what y'all want to say over there. I know we got the indigenous mixed up in us, but all you got to do is go to Nigeria, that region in Nigeria and Cameroon and all up in there, and you just stop and you say to yourself, now these look like some relatives of mine. These look like some people that I'm thoroughly related to. And every time I go to Nigeria, I'm mistaken for being Igbo every single time. Every time I'm in Nigeria, they don't even after I open my mouth, it's not whether or not I'm Black American. It's like, well, no, you from over here. They argue with me at the passport thing. At the going into Nigeria, they were arguing with me. Sisters at the airport, they were like, what state are you from? I said, well, I was born in a state in America called South Carolina, and I grew up in Washington, D.C. And they were like, no, what state of Nigeria are you from? I said, I'm not from Nigeria. They're like, you are lying. I said,
they didn't even accept the truth.
So they see all of that, right? Staring them in the face, and I'm telling. But genetically, I do have a lot of, from the area of Nigeria, I genetically have a lot of that particular DNA, you know, in me. So even though my ancestors were taken across the ocean, the DNA could not be replaced, and so, you know.
That whole theory is debunked in itself, because everyone originated in Africa anyway, and that's a scientific fact.
Well, you know, it's a
even the white man even accepts that fact. Everything.
Well, it's
too easy. It's too easy. People just don't want it. It's cool, whatever. You don't want it.
Well, let me say this.
Stay there.
Let me say this. We have conversed now, and they wanted long form content, so they got some long form. This is.
It's been like an hour and a half.
Oh yeah, it's about a good hour and some change, maybe an hour and 45 minutes or so. But you know, everyone, you know, again, just to kind of, I don't know how we went off into so many different things. You could probably chop this up in like 5 different episodes. But you know, the thing is this, you know, everybody's on their own journey, and I respect where each person is in the journey. So I understand that there was for those who are still wearing the white wigs, and you go into the, you know, you think, I maybe this will spark something for you to investigate the origins of why you are an attorney or a judge in an Anglophone African country wearing these white wigs. You know, maybe that's the system. Maybe they force you to wear it. I don't know. You know, for those who are searching for historical facts and historical information, I encourage you to travel. For those who, because I know, Leslie, you're getting ready to do some fun things with your life. You about to travel. What you got coming up? You going and traveling?
Oh, yes. So my newest website, yourlosangelescounty.com. So after going through all this stuff, I realized that I'm blessed here in the States, in California, with my family. And I realized that just in my family alone, I have so many connections to live my best life. So, you know, through real estate, I'm a realtor. So, you know, my uncle, I'm part of his firm now. So that's like the real estate aspect. And then my auntie, she's a timeshare owner. So I made affiliation with her. My cousin owns a villa in the Dominican Republic, right? My brother owns a yacht. So I made affiliations with all the people in my family. And I'm now going to show people how I'm living my life, just living my best life. And if people want to join me in that, or it's like, oh, she went there, let's go there too, they can do it too. Because right now, the revelation I got is I just want to have fun, spend time with my family, and eat good food, right? The 3 F's, F, and F, okay? And that's my life now. I don't care about nothing else. Like, nothing. I don't even know if that's like mean to say, but I just don't care. I don't care if you want to call yourself Black American, African American. I don't care if you're religious. I don't care anymore. I'm going to live my life because there's a lot of people not living, and it's not going to be me.
And you know, you said that you're living your life, and that's in the life that you have decided for yourself that works for you, free from the opinions of whatever someone else says and how you're supposed to live, and based upon their interpretation, which may be based upon their trauma. And they put their interpretation and trauma on you, and now here you are living your life based upon that. So you have found your glory in the ability to have the freedom, the fun.
That's it. And this whole experience showed me that there's people that want to join me and be part of my story. I had no clue about like the whole influencer aspect. It didn't cross my mind. And so now that I know that the people have shown me, like, Leslie, no, we will ride with you. Where are you gonna go? We're gonna watch. Okay. And if we want to go there too.
What's the website again? So everybody can follow you, and they can also, of course, subscribe to your channel. But what's the website? yourlosangelescounty.com. And then I have on Instagram, your__ Los Angeles County. I'm basically just documenting my life just like I did in Ghana, but I'm documenting it here. And then all my affiliations, you can, you know, if you want to come to Los Angeles, you can, instead of just coming here not knowing anyone, you already have a whole website, a whole system, affiliations, where to go, where to eat, all that's already done. So, living my best life. That's it. And that's what it's all about. So I'm excited for you, and I'm excited to hear. You know, it's been a while since we've had a chance to be on the
Oh, I forgot to tell you the traveling aspect.
Okay.
So through my affiliations, I'll be traveling across the country, across the United States. I'll be doing international travel too, but most of my content will be me going to different states, showing you where these places I'm staying and where they can stay there too. So that's going to be great. I have one up already. It's Nevada, Las Vegas. I have one coming up. I'll be in Carlsbad, and the next one, I think I'll be in Tanzania. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's right. You affiliate. You with us with us officially. It's been for a while actually. And so,
for a while. And then New York. I know I'll be going to New York, and I'm gonna try to squeeze in Chicago as well. So I'm touring America because it's glorious here. In spite of, I know we have a lot of issues, but
there's a lot. There's a lot in
a lot of glory here.
And a lot of wonderful people in the U.S. too, and a lot of wonderful experiences. And so I'm excited for you, and I'm excited for your continued revelations and experiences and everything that, you know, people are going to be able to encounter. And, you know, I know you're going to inspire others to be free. And those who follow you, they say, hey, I wish I could be free too. And you say, oh, just watch and live and learn.
You can go to my website.
That's it.
You can do exactly you can literally do exactly what I'm doing.
That's it. So, and your YouTube channel.
I am Leslie Jones, so that's going to be YouTube, which is my main playground as well. But I'm regional now, so when it comes to like the actual work I do, it is specifically just for California. But hey, whatever I do, you can do too.
Hey, that's right. And you never know where you may see Leslie in the world. Where in the world is Leslie Jones? She's somewhere in the world.
maybe that's gonna be my little edge. Like, where's Leslie? Like, where's Waldo? Where's Leslie?
That's right.
Let's make an email and then try to get people. What about you, Jay? You have stuff coming up too.
Oh yeah. Well, I am venturing back into Ghana. Just to let you know. And I'm going to be working with a reputable company to help families who are interested in real estate in Ghana. But it will not be involving land. It will be a very sterile, clean, streamlined process, and taking all of the bumps and bruises that I've learned along the way and connecting with this particular company with higher end real estate. So you don't have to worry about the foolishness or the drama and all of that stuff that we've talked about, because Ghana is a wonderful place with wonderful people. If you can live in America, you can live in Ghana. If you can live in the UK, you can live in Ghana. If you can live in Canada, you can live in Ghana. If you can tolerate, and especially it just depends on where you go in these places. And that's one of the things that we're going to be showcasing and highlighting. You're going to be seeing me with interviews and some very interesting upscale real estate opportunities that I believe will benefit you and your family, and for those who are interested in it. So guess what? Please, if you're looking for land, it's not me. I'm not the guy. However, if you ever see me talking about land, I would have vetted the process. It would be, I can tell you right now, it would have to be very lucrative for me to do it. I'm not touching it because it's just too much drama. Too much drama. I don't want my name attached to any foolishness. And for me, I'm just saying for me. But there are companies and developments who are doing big things, and I would love for us to get in on the ground level, because oftentimes we're late to the party. We miss opportunities because of so many different things. And so I'll be that bridge to help so that we don't miss this particular opportunity. So that's what's going on with me. More coming on YouTube. We're going to have a fun year, more travel experiences. Our affiliate program is wide open now. So much coming down the pike. And you'll be seeing us live on YouTube, and really a lot of content like this, but then fun content. This was fun, but like heavy thought content, and some of the things that got me on YouTube in the first place. So we'll continue along those lines. So so yeah. Yay. So that's
good times. Yay, 2024.
That's right. And getting ready for 2025.
Oh, I can't repeat that part.
I've been accused of moving too far ahead. Just live in the moment.
Can't handle it.
I got it. I'm gonna live in the moment. So.
Yeah, that part.
So, all right, Leslie. Well, thank you for joining me, everybody. I thank you for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe, like, share, hit the notification bell. Be sure to follow Leslie at I Am Leslie Jones on YouTube, and it's yourlosangelescounty.com. Is that it?
That is right. And thank you, Jay, for this opportunity to just vent and talk. Appreciate it.
After so long.
All
right. Well, take care, Leslie, and we look forward to talking to you real soon.
All right. Bye.
All right.